Caitlin Clark didn't arrive quietly. She blew the doors off. The crowds, the cameras, the noise, everything swung her way in a week. That kind of surge doesn't just change schedules. It changes people. Faces get tight. Smiles turn polite. And the coaches holding the clipboard step to the mic. They didn't come to congratulate. They came to set terms. Some tried to shrink the moment, some tried to move the target, some tried to make it about attitude instead of impact. Others went further and crossed a line you don't expect from leaders of teams. It wasn't chaos, it was coordinated in one way, push back on Caitlin Clark and make her carry the weight of all of it. Coaches didn't welcome the moment, they tried to control it. Answers got clipped. Compliments came with asterisks, contact was downplayed as normal. Heated moments were relabeled as nothing. Some even questioned whether she fit the league at all. That's not analysis. That's an attempt to shrink the story and push her out of the center of it. This isn't about X's and O's, it's about tone, power, and who gets to define what Caitlin is. The redirections, the digs, the strategic silence. You can hear the disrespect without anyone saying the word. This isn't PR. These are mics catching what slips between the canned lines, tight answers, careful wording, and little jabs that say more than the box score ever could. A few try to crown her a problem. A few try to make her the problem. Others hide behind tidy phrases and hope the subject changes. It doesn't. You're about to hear exactly how the league's leaders talked about Caitlin Clark, and why those words told you more than any highlight ever could. While Caitlin Clark was taking hits, getting bumped off cuts, and playing through after-whistle contact, the conversation started drifting away from the basketball. TV panels stopped asking why teams were loading up on her and started asking whether she talks too much. The focus shifted from the fouls she absorbed to the volume of her voice. That pivot didn't just come from media, it showed up on benches too. Instead of breaking down how to guard her actions, some coaches tried to make the story about tone and generation. A neat way to dodge the real issue. She's dictating the game.
Nobody talks more crap than Caitlin too. Caitlin be in there talking like that's just what they did. I saw her and Melissa get into it the other day. Like it's just, it's a different generation.
This is not praise from Becky Hammon. It is irritation disguised as observation. Different generation is code for, she sets a tone older voices do not control. The talking is not the problem. The problem for opponents is what follows. Caitlin talks, then she makes the next read. She talks, then she hits the next shot. She talks, then the next defender overhelps and a shooter gets a clean look. That is why the noise gets mentioned first. It makes it sound like the voice is the reason things are happening. It is not. The plays are. If the first analysis of a player is about how much she talks, that is a sign the coach is downplaying the basketball. That is a choice. It is also the first sign of disrespect. Treat the talking like the story, so you do not have to start with the real story. She controlled the sequence. If you want to beat her, set your communication rules in the scouting report. Assign the captain's voice. Assign the huddle rules after the first chirp. If you skip that step, you are letting one guard direct your team before the first media timeout. That is not on Caitlin. That is on coaches who refuse to admit she runs the room. Some coaches hide it behind cliches. He tried something else, say her name, then immediately minimize her. He leads by admitting the game starts with Caitlin, but in the same breath he pivots away, brings up another player, and frames the whole thing like a maybe. That's not respect. It's the classic move. Acknowledge her because you have to. Then steer the credit somewhere safer so you don't look like you're bowing to a rookie. That tells you everything about the tension in the answer. She's the center of his plan, and he still can't give her clean credit.
So you go in preparing for her to be there, and then you adjust accordingly. So I know they've just signed Ari McDonald back, and we'll see a lot of her tonight. So we'll get a good look at, what that might look like if she doesn't play for us. So we have the benefit of watching them play tonight without her. But you go in preparing for Caitlin to be on the floor, and you adjust.
This isn't Chris Coklane's neutral scouting. Preparing for Caitlin is the truth he can't avoid. Everything after, redirecting to someone else, talking about what it looks like without her, is damage control. It's a way to keep her impact small in the quote, while his team treats her like the problem all night. That's disrespectful, not because he plans for her, but because he tries to soften that reality as soon as it leaves his mouth. Notice the pattern. He repeats, prepare for her, because the room already knows it. Then he rushes to add qualifiers as if planning for Caitlin needs an apology. It doesn't. The only reason to bend the sentence like that is pride. You're centering your entire night on one player, and you still can't say it straight. That's why this answer matters. It exposes how opponents talk about her when the cameras are on versus how they act when the ball goes up. They start with Caitlin. Then they pretend they didn't. That's not honesty. That's minimizing a player they can't ignore. Selection talk is public and binary. It sets the tone for months. The short answer here was final, and it was timed before the schedule that followed. Note it, then look at what came next on the court. This is not a place for a long argument. It is a place to mark a stance and let the games add context. Fans did not need help connecting the dots. They watched the production that followed and reached their own conclusion.
For me?
Yeah.
No.
No opening, no second thought, no willingness to revisit the decision even though everyone saw what came after. That no was not only about a roster, it was about Cheryl Reeve refusing to acknowledge momentum and impact. Opponents kept preparing for her as the first bullet point on the scout. That tells you who was right about what mattered. When a coach answers this fast, it invites the audience to test the premise themselves. Caitlin made that easy. You cannot stop fans from seeing what they saw. You cannot blame them for pointing back to this answer and calling it stubborn. The disrespect is not subtle here. It says the player does not matter at the level her play demanded. The game said otherwise. Now we get to the conversation that lived under a microscope all season: physical play and officiating. Coaches use terms like subjective and emphasis when they want time to pass without taking a side. They also call it their best effort when they want to frame hard contact as normal. Listen to the language. Watch how it tries to reject a label and reject specific hits at the same time. That is the contradiction to notice.
The application of marginal contact is so subjective for officials. We don't have that right. So we just have a long way to go. I don't think it's about star players. I know, I mean, I get the nature of the Caitlin Clark, the popularity and eyes on. So everyone's watching. A lot of people are watching that never watched before. I don't believe Caitlin Clark is targeted in any way. It's a great player. You're going to get teams' best efforts. I don't agree, with egregious contact and things that occurred after.
Subjective asks for patience. Egregious asks for action. Putting them together is the tell. No targeting, but a rejection of after-play hits. Which is it? This is how another public message from Cheryl Reeve tries to manage attention. Downplay the word that carries consequences, then condemn the worst moments without calling them what most fans would call them. People are not confused. They watched from the same angles. They saw the bumps that had nothing to do with a legal contest. They saw the afters. Caitlin took those shots and kept playing. The only thing unclear is why coaches won't say plainly what everyone else watched. Denying the label while admitting the behavior is another form of disrespect. It undercuts the player who took the contact and the viewer who knows what they saw. Caitlin did not ask for protection from words. She asked the game to be called. She answered with the same thing she always does: play through it, score through it, move on to the next play, and make the denial look small. Some criticism shows up as honest assessment. Gino Auriemma didn't bother with that. He went straight for disrespect at Caitlin Clark, at her supporters, and at her entire rookie class. He wasn't offering adjustments or film notes. He was trying to shrink her and define her ceiling from a distance. That matters because it tells you the playbook. When the game is already tilting toward her, change the conversation to insult the people watching and question whether she belongs at all.
The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality.
Wrong team, wrong skill set. Not quick enough. That is not analysis. That is a takedown. And it ignores what opponents have already admitted. If she were not built for it, they would not start with preparing for her and adjust. They would not push their pickup points out. They would not send extra help. Teams only do that for problems they respect. The contradiction is obvious. The strongest attempt to bury her comes from outside the league, while inside the league, coaches keep structuring their plans around her. That mismatch shows you what people actually believe when they have to play her. A Hall of Famer taking a swing at a star tells you more about the threat she poses than about her limits. You do not spend time trying to discredit someone who does not matter. The reason this tone shows up is simple. Caitlin changed the order of operations, and some people want the old order back. This isn't respect for a great shot. It's a coach trying to turn a single whistle into how we solved Caitlin. Instead of admitting the move keeps beating teams, Natalie reaches for the one moment an official bailed the coverage out and holds it up like proof. That's not analysis. That's minimizing. It tells defenders what they want to hear, so nobody has to say the real thing. You didn't stop the shot, the whistle did.
Natalie, you mentioned, how deadly Caitlin can be on the left step back. How happy were you that the double step back got called to travel and they didn't let her get to that?
Yeah, that's a great call, right? I mean, yeah, it was actually on the other side, so I actually didn't see it. All I saw was like Tip just go like this, and so I'm like, must have been a great defensive stop. So again, credit to Tip. She understood how to, maneuver her and get her to travel.
See that again. She didn't fully see it, but still uses it as a model. That's the tell. Celebrate the call, credit a teammate, and act like the move is gone. It's not. One whistle doesn't delete the left step back. The next clean look lands the same way, over a late contest, 3 points on the board. Framing a superstar's signature shot as "we gotta travel" is the easy way out. It downplays skill, elevates a bailout, and keeps the locker room from admitting the truth. You're not stopping the move. You're hoping for help from the ref. That's disrespect, trying to write off what she's doing with a single clip instead of owning how often she beats the coverage without any whistle at all. After holding up one whistle like it solved the problem, Natalie goes a step further. She tries to cut down Caitlin's toughness. This isn't about tactics anymore. It's about planting a narrative that makes every bump look like a win and every whistle look earned by the defense. Call it what it is, an attempt to pre-frame the game, so if Caitlin scores through contact, it gets labeled the exception instead of the norm.
I mean, you guys, saw what we're doing, right? But like I said, just to the prior press conference before was we were being disruptive. We know that she doesn't like physicality, right? We know that she wants to get to that left step back.
Doesn't like physicality isn't scouting, it's disrespect. The highlight clips say the opposite. She takes hits and keeps the dribble. She absorbs bumps and creates space. When teams top lock the step back, she flips the angle, snakes middle, or hits the shake cut you just opened. When traps come, she throws the pocket pass or the skip on time. If coaches truly believed she wanted no part of contact, they wouldn't body her at the catch, send early help, and live with foul risk to knock her off rhythm. Their actions expose the line. This claim is a shortcut, a way to make the solution sound simple and make the player sound soft. It's also a shield for the game plan. If she beats the coverage, they can say she finally handled the physicality, instead of admitting she read it and punished it. The reality is straightforward. To remove the left step back for a full night, you have to give up obvious things somewhere else. Open corners, short rolls, slip cuts, that's the cost nobody wants to say on camera. So they say she doesn't like contact. That's not analysis. That's minimizing a player who keeps proving she can win the possession your plan was built to take away. This is the classic way to minimize a player and move on. Pump the team's toughness, name the coverage, say you were aggressive, and file Caitlin's make under tough shot. It sounds respectful, but it's a dodge. It turns a repeat outcome into a one-off and keeps the spotlight off the fact that she beat the plan when it mattered.
Our toughness, I think that our toughness, how we cover the ball screens, how we were aggressive on Clark, for example, even if she scored and she made a tough shot at the end, but in general, our energy was good.
Calling it a tough shot at the end is the polite version of disrespect. It treats a pattern like luck. It tells the room you can live with that, when the truth is you keep losing to that. If she's the one taking the last clean look over and over, that's not random. That's control. Hiding behind toughness and energy lets you avoid saying the simple thing, she decided the possession. Until you admit that and change something real, you're not living with it. You're handing her the finish and pretending it's a coin flip. Here is another move. Praise the pieces around her instead of naming the center. Balance and speed matter when one player stretches your shell. Help leans toward 22. The nearest penetrator benefits. Spacing holds because defenders do not want to tag off shooters. The fastest guard gets long closeouts and clean lanes. Coaches will call that the group. It still tracks back to the same place.
I think everybody in this league is hard to beat. I think they're playing really well right now. I think they're a balanced team. They've got, I do want to give a shout out to Ari McDonald. I think she's done a tremendous job there. She's found a home and she's really elevated their group. Kelsey Mitchell is, I think, the fastest guard in the league in terms of off the dribble.
This sounds neutral from Line Roberts, but it is not. It is an indirect admission that Caitlin's gravity makes those traits pop. You need speed to punish the help that is already leaning toward her. You need balance so the weak side stays honest when she draws two. Talking about everyone else is a way to avoid crediting her for the conditions that make those positives possible. That is a polite dodge, and it is common. The highlights put the credit back where it belongs. If she were not bending your defense, you would not need all that speed and balance to survive the night. The coach chose not to say her name at the center of the sentence. The game did not. Postgame, the clip is looping on every screen, the altercation at the rim, the review, the face-to-face, the crowd on edge. Reporters turn to assistant Tyler Marsh and ask for his read on the Angel Reese-Caitlin Clark altercation, the sequence, the upgrade, the temperature of the game. This is the moment a coach either names what happened or tries to sand it down. Marsh takes a beat, then chooses the smallest box possible.
Basketball play.
That is not accurate, that is denial. Everyone saw the same angles. Everyone knows the difference between a legal contest and an altercation. Calling it a basketball play is a way to reduce the moment and hope it disappears. It does not. The next possession still counts. Caitlin has answered these moments the same way all year. She plays through it. She makes the same reads. She scores through it. The label does not change the outcome. It just tells the audience how much the coach wants the story to end. It is also disrespectful to the player who took the heat and did not get the benefit of plain words afterward. If you are going to be physical, own it. If you are going to deny it, do not expect people to forget what they watched that night. The story isn't just about disrespect. It's how Caitlin Clark answers it. She takes the bumps, she eats the snubs, she hears the clipped quotes, then she shows up. She hits from deep, she reads two to the ball and drops dimes, she closes games. She signs autographs for kids after. She carries herself like she belongs, because she does. Coaches can talk around her. They can call contact subjective and say there's no targeting. They can question her fit and her fans. They can point to one whistle and pretend it's a blueprint. The court doesn't care. Every hard foul becomes a replay. Every cold stare gets captured. Try to freeze her out of praise and you only heat up the spotlight. This is the twist they didn't plan for. The resistance is making her bigger. While press conferences try to redirect, she drags attention back to center court. While ballots and sound bites try to shrink her, she keeps stacking nights that matter. She isn't fighting back with quotes. She's fighting back with possessions that decide outcomes. If you want a different ending, change real things, otherwise the pattern holds. Teams start with her, they bend to her, they walk to the podium and call the last shot tough again. The gap between what's said and what's played tells the truth. She's not just surviving the cold shoulder, she's thriving in it. If you still need clarity, listen to the words and then watch what follows. See who helps early. See who won't leave her. See who gets the last clean look. That isn't an accident, that's respect they won't say out loud. Caitlin Clark doesn't need their approval. She lets the game say everything they won't, and it keeps saying the same thing. Start with 22, pay the cost, or she decides the end.